Socy Dark Talks is back. Tonight, I bring you 4 terrifying tales from those who found themselves face to face with their darkest fears, home alone at night. Let's begin our journey through these eerie narratives, if you dare. Story 1: Punishment in the Psych Ward. In the long, dark corridors of the mental hospital where I am being treated, there is a harsh rule that everyone must strictly follow. Never spill your food. Those who violate this rule must spend a night in the House of Darkness, a separate room deep within the hospital where light cannot penetrate. Today, in a nightmare induced by medication, I accidentally spilt my bowl of hot soup. Before I could grasp what was happening, 2 guards dragged me through the deserted corridors, their footsteps echoing sharply and clearly, like a clock counting down the last moments of my freedom. They pushed me into the room, and the sound of the iron door slamming shut behind me thundered like thunder. I was left alone in the dense darkness. Not a single ray of light, not a sound from the outside world penetrated this space. The musty smell of the limestone walls seemed to invade every inch of space around me. As time passed, I sat huddled on the cold floor, clutching my trembling knees. The cold seeped into my bones, but it was not as cold as the feeling of loneliness and despair of being abandoned in the darkness. My mind gradually became chaotic, and invisible sounds began to echo in my head. Whispering voices, soft footsteps, and the heavy breathing of someone standing right behind me. I turned around, but it was just the dense darkness swallowing all forms. However, the feeling that someone was in the room with me kept increasing. I began to whisper, pleading for help, begging for light, but there was no response, only the echo of my voice, weak and desperate. As the night deepened, I felt the presence of an entity in the darkness. It did not speak, it did not move, it simply existed. Real fear began when I realized that each time I blinked, the entity came closer. I could not see it, but I felt the haunting, chilling sensation from it. I wondered if I was going mad, or if there really was something lurking in the darkness, waiting for a chance to get closer. After what seemed like an endless period of absolute stillness, I began to hear the sound of dripping water. Water dripped onto the floor, drop by drop, as if something or someone was bleeding right above me. The light of a glimmer of hope that had seemed to completely extinguish now appeared dimly, and I looked up, only to see a dark red stain slowly seeping through the cracks in the ceiling. Fear rendered me immobile, feeling as if my entire body had frozen. The sound of dripping gradually turned into a rhythmic tapping, each beat adding to the threatening atmosphere enveloping the room. That was when I realized that I was not alone. Something else was here, dwelling in this darkness, waiting for the weakest moment of a human to reveal itself. A sudden chill spread throughout the room as a cold breeze blew through, though there were no windows open. I saw my breath form clouds in front of me, and the darkness began to shift as if something was crawling, gradually moving closer to me. Suddenly, a cold hand touched my shoulder, with the weight of certainty that I could not evade. I turned around in utter horror, only to see a pair of gleaming eyes in the night, without any face attached. The creature's eyes were blazing red, staring intently at me as if it could see through my soul, reading every fear I was trying to hide. My heart was filled with screams echoing in my head, but no sound escaped. I felt as if something was restraining me, a power I could not resist. The creature in the darkness did not need to speak or move. Its mere presence was enough to nearly collapse my mind. As dawn began to break, light faintly penetrated through the cracks of the door, and the creature began to dissipate, dispersing into the air like morning mist. I gasped for air, each breath a minor victory over the exhaustion I had endured throughout the long night. The ghosts of the previous night gradually faded, but the horror they left in me was unforgettable. Dim light filtered into the room, illuminating each dark corner that I had imagined filled with horrors throughout the night. But even as dawn arrived and safety seemed to be restored, my mind continued to tremble. I looked around the empty room. The stains on the walls were now just lingering blood stains. Surely previous patients had attempted suicide here because they could not endure it. When the guard opened the door to let me out, the dazzling light from the corridor blinded me. I stepped outside with trembling legs, each step a challenge, another step back to the world I once knew. I didn't tell anyone about what had happened, fearing they would think I had completely lost my mind. Now I understand why those who enter this haunted house become extremely obedient and dare not spill their food ever again. Story 2. The Nanny's Silent Return. When I was just 13 years old, my parents often left me home alone, but that didn't make me feel neglected. I would play Call of Duty in the basement, snack on junk food, and do normal teen stuff. However, one day while I was eating popcorn, playing Black Ops, and recording a video for my YouTube channel, I suddenly heard a knock at the door. My mom had always instructed me never to open the door for anyone when my parents were not home, so I ignored it. About 30 minutes later, I had completely forgotten about the knock. Suddenly, I heard the door creak open. I paused the game, listening for my mom to yell, "Billy, I'm home," like she usually does, but this time, there was silence. I did nothing because I was just a naive teenager, and I resumed playing my game. About 10 minutes later, I heard the door open and close again. I assumed it was my mom leaving the house for some reason. After finishing my game, I decided to take a nap. I enjoyed napping when I was young. It was a great way to relax. About an hour into my nap, my phone rang. It was a text from my mom. "Hi, Billy. I'll be home in 20 minutes." I don't remember much from that day, but I vividly recall the chilling sensation. My blood turned cold. However, I texted her back to reassure myself. "Did you just come home a while ago? Did you need something?" I saw the text bubble appear on the screen. Then it disappeared. Next, I received a message. "Billy, hide." My heart pounded in my chest. My hands trembled as I held the phone, unsure of what to do next. My mom would never joke about something like this. A cold feeling spread throughout my body as I realized I was in danger right in my own home. Not wasting another second, I got up, locked my room door, and hid in the closet, trying to make no noise at all. I tried to breathe quietly. Each breath was tense. In the darkness of the closet, I felt as if I was being hunted, my heart pounding so loud, I feared it might reveal my hiding spot. Outside, the house seemed enveloped in silence, but the tense atmosphere made me feel as if everything around me was excessively dangerous. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed on the floor, each step resonating in my heart. I held my breath, listening as the footsteps seemed to get closer. A slight noise from my phone startled me. I cautiously took it out. The dim light of the screen flickered in the darkness. Another message from my mom. "Billy, don't come out of hiding. I'm almost home. Don't talk to anyone. I love you." Reading those lines, I felt a bit comforted, but the fear was far from abated. I heard the footsteps stop right outside my room. My heart seemed to stop beating. Suddenly, there was a gentle yet clear knock on the door.
"Billy, are you in there? Open up, it's Mom."
The voice was familiar, yet it sounded cold and terrifying. I dared not answer, remembering my mom's message. "Don't talk to anyone." The next moments felt like an eternity. Then the sound of police sirens and flashing lights pierced through the window curtains. I finally dared to crawl out of the closet and run down to the front door, where my mom stood with the officers. Seeing her, I truly felt safe. The incident ended when the police entered and quickly took control. They discovered a strange woman sleeping in my parents' bed. This woman was not a stranger but a former nanny of our family. She had left when I was too young to remember her face, but no one in the family suspected that she harbored a deep obsession with us. The police explained that after leaving her job as a nanny, she had faced numerous difficulties in life and had become estranged. The emotional connection she had once had with me as a baby had turned into an unhealthy obsession. She began to believe she was my real mother and that my mother had stolen me from her. During this time, she had secretly monitored and learned about our family's daily life. She sneaked into the house hoping to relive the happy memories she once had. Her initial presence in the house went undetected, because she was very familiar with the house's layout and knew how to move quietly. The situation was finally resolved peacefully. The former nanny was taken to a psychiatric facility for necessary help. My mom always reminded me that in any situation, everyone deserves understanding and forgiveness. Story 3: The Intruder Underneath. During summer vacation, I decided to stay alone at a family vacation villa while my parents and siblings went traveling. Over time, the villa had become dilapidated, with its blue paint faded. I was there all by myself, feeling quite lonely. As soon as I entered, a foul odor hit my nose, making me feel nauseous. Putting aside all distractions, I quickly cleaned up the house and organized my luggage. The first day passed peacefully. I spent time reading books and enjoying the quiet scenery. However, at night, while I was watching a movie, I suddenly heard creaking footsteps from the basement. I listened for a while, then decided to go down to check, thinking it might just be the sounds of the old house. In the darkness of the basement, the dim light from my flashlight revealed a large hole in the wall that I had never seen before. Curious, yet anxious, I looked around but saw nothing unusual except for the hole. As I turned to go back upstairs, the footsteps sounded again, this time clearer and closer. I hurried back upstairs, my heart pounding. That night, I couldn't sleep, haunted by what I had heard. The next morning, while having coffee, I decided to call the neighbors to ask if they had heard any strange noises. They said they hadn't heard anything and advised me to call the police if I felt worried. The following night, the footsteps returned, this time accompanied by whispers. No longer in doubt, I called the police. While waiting, I hid in my bedroom, locking the door tightly. When the police arrived, they searched and discovered an underground system beneath the house, which seemed to be harboring someone. It turned out that all this time, I was not alone. The police carefully entered the underground space while I stood on the stairs, observing everything from a distance. After about an hour of tension, a group of officers came out with a man in handcuffs. He looked wild, with disheveled hair and a frantic look in his eyes. The police later explained that this man was a fugitive who had been using the underground space beneath my house as a hideout for several months. The basement was fully equipped with a bed, food supplies, and even small surveillance devices to monitor all activity in the house. More disturbingly, the police found a collection of photos of me and my family, along with detailed notes on our daily schedules. It turned out he had been observing us for a long time, taking advantage of the family's absence to carry out his covert activities. After ensuring that there was no one else in the basement, the police sealed the scene and continued their investigation. I was interviewed and asked to fill out an incident report. Even after the man was arrested and the basement sealed, I still couldn't feel at ease. Every small noise in the house made me jump. Life after this event changed completely. I no longer felt safe being alone. Every time I stepped into the house, the image of that man in the dark basement immediately came to mind. Story 4: The Trap Next Door. On a secluded street in the suburbs of the city, Liam lives alone in his 3-story house. Though accustomed to solitary life, the quiet nights still make him uneasy, especially with a construction site next door. The noise from the site disrupts his sleep, but today the workers had the day off, and Liam hoped for a peaceful night. Around 10 p.m., the doorbell rang. Liam was surprised, as he wasn't expecting any visitors at this hour. Peering through the peephole, he saw a middle-aged man standing outside. The man was heavily dressed, covered from head to toe, holding a small briefcase. "Sorry to disturb you. I'm Finn, your new neighbor next to the construction site. The noise tonight was too loud. I couldn't sleep. I was wondering if I could possibly stay over for the night." The man introduced himself. Liam was skeptical but opened the door. He thought, if a neighbor needed help, there was no reason to refuse. Finn entered the house looking tired. He carefully surveyed the surroundings, which made Liam uncomfortable. After chatting for a few minutes, Liam led Finn to a guest room on the second floor. Liam tried to return to sleep, but a nagging unease kept him awake. He reassured himself that he was just being overly anxious, but thoughts of the man wouldn't leave his mind. After tossing and turning for a while, Liam decided to check again. Sneaking downstairs, he heard whispers coming from the living room. Standing behind the door, Liam listened. Finn's voice was no longer tired. Instead, it was scheming. "Yes, I'm inside now. He seems to trust me. No, we don't need many people. Just 2 more will suffice. Wait for my signal." Liam instantly realized he had been deceived. He hurried upstairs, locked his door, and waited. Looking out the window, he saw a truck stop right in front of the house. 2 other men stepped out, looking around as if searching for a way inside. With Finn's help, his accomplices easily sneaked in through the back door. The men quietly moved through the downstairs rooms, searching for valuables to steal. Though temporarily safe in his locked room, Liam felt another wave of anxiety when he tried to call the police but found no signal. Finn must have tampered with the phone lines as part of his plan. Suddenly, he heard soft footsteps below. Liam's heart pounded as he realized he had limited options. Fearing the thieves would take everything, including heirlooms from his parents, he knew he had to act. He grabbed a golf club from his closet and cautiously opened his door, listening intently. The footsteps below grew louder, signaling to Liam that he needed to act quickly. He descended the stairs silently, trying not to make any noise. Upon reaching downstairs, Liam saw a figure rifling through the living room. Without hesitation, he charged, striking the thief with the golf club and knocking him to the floor. The loud noise drew the attention of the second thief, who rushed out of the kitchen intending to help his accomplice, but Liam was ready for the confrontation. A tense struggle ensued in the hallway, with Liam using all his strength to fend off the 2 intruders. As police sirens sounded in the distance, the thieves panicked. They tried to escape through the back door, but police officers arrived just in time to apprehend them. Breathing heavily but relieved, Liam watched as the police took control of the situation. A sense of safety returned as he realized he had bravely faced and thwarted a potential danger in his own home. The incident concluded with the thieves being taken away, and the police stayed to take statements and ensure Liam's safety. Having gone through a terrifying but enlightening experience, Liam grew stronger and more confident. He realized that security isn't just about sturdy locks or alarm systems, but also about being prepared to face unexpected and dangerous situations. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel so you won't miss out any creepy tales and scary adventures in the upcoming videos. This is Socy Dark Talks. Stay curious and embrace the darkness.